Hi there and welcome to the Adventures with Jesus Today podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Berg, and today we're going to talk about God will even use the stars to provide for you. It's that beautiful time of year where we're close to Christmas Day, where we just celebrate in this season the birth of Jesus. And I was reading the story of his birth, and just as beautifully as the Bible always does, something new popped out at me that I hadn't seen before. And so, if you'd like to follow along with me, please do. I'm reading from Matthew 2, verse 1 in the NIV. And we're going to unpack the story as I read it, all the way through to verse 14 and past that. Because there's an aspect that I saw this time that just blew me away. The level of effort God will go to provide us with everything that is needed in order for His will to come to pass. Now, this is a fundamental truth that we don't often get because we're asking God for something that we think should happen. If we're feeling like we're being attacked by the enemy, we think that the answer to our prayer should be that the attack stops. If we're asking Him for provision for something like paying our rent or school fees, then we think that the answer should be that we have enough money to pay our rent or have school fees. And we often stop ourselves short of all that God wants to provide for us because we're looking at our own plans and the immediate things in front of our eyes that we think need to be met, and B, thinking that He needs to meet those plans. And it's not of ill intent or anything. It's just that this is the pressing need that's in front of us, so it's what we think about, right? But as we read this story, we'll see that God had a way bigger picture in mind. And it refers often in these passages to so that what God wrote in the Old Testament would come to pass, so that this thing that God said would come to pass. And it's this beautiful picture of God knew all the way from the beginning that He'd sent Jesus. And so all the way along this journey, hundreds of years before Jesus was born, God was already planting these prophetic words through the prophets, through people that listened to Him and gave the words that He gave, so that there would be markers to go, okay, this needs to come to pass, and then we'll know that it's Jesus. This needs to come to pass, and we'll know that that's God's will. And then we see the beauty of not only does He have this really intentional pathway for each one of us, but He will provide whatever is needed. So we're going to start in verse 1, and it says, After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. And that's our first point. We're going to stop there. God sent a star that was so bright and so remarkable that the Magi knew that something was happening, that they had come, that there was a king that was going to be born of the Jews. And so they put all these treasures together, they put their caravans together, all of these things that needed to be done in order to make this big journey because they traveled from the east. And they followed the star until they got to Jerusalem. Isn't that the most amazing thing? Think about it. God actually created the star to be remarkable, and then He had it go at a pace that led the Magi from the east all the way to Jerusalem. Isn't that amazing? So that's step one, right? So then they get to Jerusalem and they stop and they ask Herod. So these were obviously important men because King Herod heard this and he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. And when he had called together all the people's chief priests and the teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem in Judea, they replied, for this is what the prophet has written. See how things come to pass? But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. Right? And they knew. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him. After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. So think about that. The star had led them all the way from the east to Jerusalem. It waited for them while they talked to Herod. And when they were ready to go again, the star went ahead of them and started moving again. and took them to where Jesus was, where it stopped again. How does that happen? Have you ever seen a star stop and start in the sky? Right? But it stopped over where Jesus was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now they had already put those into their saddlebags. They'd put those massive provisions of gold, frankincense, and myrrh all the way from the east because they knew they were coming to worship a king. So God leads them with the star. They get there and they open up these treasures and present him with gifts. And then it says, verse 12, and having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. So there they are in a manger, and Mary's given birth, a stinky, smelly manger. But there Jesus was, and the Magi come and find him. Now think about it. They weren't near a town where they could go and draw cash from the ATM. They couldn't get a loan from the bank. There's just all sorts of things, right? They're in a manger in the middle of a town, and it was the last place available where Mary could go and give birth. But God sends a star to bring Magi who have got treasures and finds them, because this was what happened next. So he got up, and when they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said. "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." Just think about that for the moment. The Magi come, they give them all of these treasures. They go to sleep that night, Joseph and Mary and Jesus. They go to sleep that night. An angel of the Lord appears to him in the middle of the night and says, "Get up and go now because Herod is coming." So Joseph is like, okay, we've just given birth. It's in the middle of the night now. Now we've got to get up and travel. Where would he have got provision from to be able to make that trek to get to Egypt? It's far, right? So God actually takes a star, leads the Magi there, gets them to bring treasures with him, deposits them into Joseph's bank account, right? Gives them in worship to Jesus. And then that provision got them to Egypt and kept them until Herod was dead, so that they had provision enough to stay there. And God knew all of this before time, because it says, "And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet." Oh, my word. Think about the beauty of God's plan, how he knew everywhere that Joseph and Mary would go, that the Magi would go, where Jesus would be born, where he'd send them next, what Herod would do. He knew all of those circumstances, and he'd already started talking about it hundreds of years before Jesus was born. But he got provision to Joseph and Mary where they were in order to take them where he wanted them to be. Wow. It's just the same in your life and my life. God has plans for you. He knows exactly what he sent you to earth for. He knows exactly where you'll be going. He knows where you are. He knows where he wants you to go. And he will even use the stars in the sky to lead the people to you who have the provision that you need in order to go where he has destined you to go. The places that he has for you to go, the things he has for you to do, the people he has for you to talk to, the things that will fulfill the purpose that he sent you for. Man, that's amazing. Think about that for the moment and realize that never again do you have to worry about where your provision will come from. As you're walking on the path that the Lord has put your feet on, to bring to pass the things that he has known for hundreds and thousands of years before he sent you, and to do the things that are still to come in our future, God will provide for you. So all you need to do is day by day take hold of the grace that he's given. Think about the provision for today. Be thankful for what he gives today, because he will provide for tomorrow. Because Joseph was looking at that morning before the Magi come. I don't know how much they had, right? But by that afternoon, they had enough provision to be able to get them to Egypt and stay until Herod had died. So be encouraged today that God sees you. He knows the trajectory that you're on. He knows the path that He has for you, and He will provide the provision for you, even if it means making a star travel in the sky. Stop, travel again, and stop in order to bring the Magi with the provision that He has for you. Oh, thank you, Lord. So I want to wish you a blessed and Merry Christmas with those who you love, those who are close to you, that the Lord blesses you and yours, and that you have a wonderful time in this season celebrating all that Jesus came to give you and to bring you and to bring the will of the Lord to pass. Beautiful, beautiful. Come across and visit us at thewaysofwisdom.com. We love doing life with you. There are some beautiful free resources there for you to connect with. And we've got some exciting news coming in January 2022. Can you believe we're saying that already? So we love you. We love you. Have a wonderful Christmas with those you love and who love you. And so, as always, Jesus is inviting you on an adventure today. Will you accept?